Kia ora early childhood teachers, my name is Angela Bush from ECE Learning Unlimited, and today I want to talk with you about something that's really close to my heart at the moment, and that is settling and resettling children into our early childhood services. At this time of year more than ever, teachers are focusing on settling children, and there might be some that come in and settle really easily and go about their business easy peasy and barely even say goodbye to their parents, and then there are going to be those other children who really struggle with this. There'll be tears, there'll be snot, there'll be arms up for cuddles, and that's just the parents. But seriously, what I'm hearing a lot of at the moment are things like, I have this baby who cries all day, or this baby won't eat or drink anything, and she only sleeps for half an hour at a time, or there's this toddler who needs to be with me the whole time and is really clinging on to me, or things like she's only happy if I'm sitting right next to her the whole time. And it really breaks my heart and hurts my soul to think about these children who are very clearly overwhelmed and feeling distressed. So in this video, I'm going to give you 8 strategies for settling children and bringing the calm back to your ECE environment. I'm going to be straight up here, no holds barred, because we can either stuff this up royally and likely make this even harder for this child to ever trust anyone outside the family ever again, or we can turn this into something beautiful and feel squishy inside, knowing that we made a huge difference for this child. But first, a quick word on the why. I'm not going to dive deeply into the theory of why it's so important to settle children with loving care, because if you're an early childhood teacher, I've no doubt that you already know this stuff. But this video is more about the practical things that we can do as early childhood teachers to help settle children. But I do want to remind you that we all know that the first 1,000 days of a child's life are critical. They're critical for their brain development, they're critical for their well-being, and we know that these days in a person's life, when they are forming their understanding of this big wide world and how things work. They're becoming to understand how relationships work and how other people can make them feel. If you take a listen to people like Nathan Wallace, Penny Brownlee, or if you read anything about Rye and Pickler philosophies, or read the oodles of information in internet land about the importance of attachment relationships, we all know exactly why it is critical to get this stuff right. We know why it's important to settle young children positively and to the best of our ability. And as early childhood teachers, we're actually responsible for other people's children and not screwing that up. What could be more important? So the first thing I want you to do is stop and think about, how does this feel for the child? Let's think about it for a second. For new children in particular, you are a stranger. Everything about you is different. You sound different, you smell different, you look different, you move differently from their parents, you possibly speak a different language. Everything is different. You may not even speak their home language, let alone understand their nonverbal cues. This child is actually biologically driven to form an attachment relationship in order to feel safe, firstly, and then in order to build trust and confidence. Biologically driven. It's in their bones. If this is their first time in group care, holy cow. Imagine how it feels to suddenly be surrounded by so many other children, and some might even touch me without my invitation, to sleep in a room with other children, to eat at a table with others, and to be constantly surrounded by other people. This could be really, really new for these children. And how does this child know who is going to take care of them? Who can they trust? Where are my parents? There must be so much going on inside their little heads. For the child, this can be really scary. And if they are crying a lot, it's clearly overwhelming for them. You're getting the picture, right? For this child, this is a very sucky time right now. And I bet their parents are likely feeling very distressed right now too. And for us as early childhood teachers, this can be physically and emotionally draining and concerning. And don't forget, these children are the people who are going to be taking care of you in the rest home. So we need to get this right. It's in everyone's best interest to settle this child as quickly and positively as we can. So come on, let's get started and wave a magic wand. Spoiler alert, there is no magic wand, and this is not going to happen overnight. But there are things that we can do absolutely to make this better for the child, for the parents, and for everybody involved. If you put all of these strategies into place that I'm going to share with you, this child will form a close relationship with you, and they will settle, and they will begin to feel trust and confidence and start to explore and play and do all the wonderful things that we know are important for their development. Probably within at least 3 weeks. Trust me, I've done this a million times and it always works. So here goes. Relationships, relationships, relationships. Can I say it again? Relationships. No matter what part of the world you're in, if you are working in an early childhood service taking care of infants, toddlers and young children, your national curriculum will have relationships at its core. This is something that is so easily that rolls off the tongue. Oh yes, we value relationships here. Oh yes, relationships are everything to us. And yet so often we misunderstand what this actually means in reality. I can't tell you how many times I have seen and heard of children being passed from one person to another, depending on who is available or who can handle the crying for now or who is on a break. Like they're a sack of potatoes needing to be held. This is not putting relationships at the heart. This is putting adults first. This child is looking for attachment, they're looking for trust, and they're looking for reliability. So stop passing the baby, literally. You need to assign one person to be their key teacher or primary caregiver from day one. And this person needs to do everything for this child in your centre. They must feed them, they must give them their bottles, they must take them to sleep, they must change their nappies. Only this person. No tag team. Here it's your turn, pass the baby. No, can you just have this baby while I have a cup of coffee? No, zip, nada. This key teacher must be available at the child's level as much as possible. So this means sitting on the floor alongside the child, offering comfort, which doesn't necessarily mean picking them up. The key teacher needs to get to know the child. What are their nonverbal cues? How are they showing you that they're tired? How does this child like to be comforted? Don't just assume they want to be picked up. And certainly don't allow others to walk by and pick them up randomly because they think this child needs a hug. The key teacher must be available at the child's level as much as possible. So this means sitting on the floor alongside the child, offering them comfort, which doesn't necessarily mean picking them up. It's the key teacher's responsibility to get to know this child. So what are their non-verbal cues? How are they showing you that they're tired? How does this child like to be comforted? Don't just assume that the child wants to be picked up. This child needs to have one secure attachment relationship with a key teacher before they can even begin to tolerate or even think about relating to anyone else here. If you don't get this bit sorted, then you can forget everything else. The key teacher is also the person who must communicate with the child's family. Only this person. These parents need reassurance here. They need confidence and trust too, because you know what? Their anxiety will undoubtedly be rubbing off on the child. And this is the precious human being you've got in your hands. So build a relationship with the parents too. So I can straight away hear you saying, but how on earth can I possibly spend time with just one child? I've got so many children I need to be spending time with. I'm not saying that this is exclusive, but I'm saying that this child is a priority for you right now. If you are the key teacher for this child, then you're going to need the full support from your team for the next 2 to 3 weeks. And this child needs to be a priority for everybody on the team. So this means that if you're responsible for the care of other key children, then your team needs to take care of them as much as they can for now. Remember, this is not just a matter of you doing a nice thing for your teammate. This is critical to a child's emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being and to their future. Get it? It's really serious stuff. The key teacher is going to need to feel confident and comfortable that they can ask for what they need from their team. For example, I'm going to go and take this child outside right now for a while because you know what, yesterday I worked out that she is more relaxed outdoors. So I can take a few children with me, but please make sure you don't leave me with all the children. The other thing is when you need to take a break, you will need to time that around this child feeling settled or being asleep or being okay for now. And please, please, please never, 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 can I say that again? Never go on a break just because it's rostered right now and yet this child is crying their heart out. Do not leave this child crying. Do not separate from the child when they are needing your comfort. They are your priority. Don't get me wrong. I'm not for 1 second saying here that you should not be taking breaks. You absolutely need to be taking breaks because I understand how intense this is right now. But what I'm saying is do not take a break just because it's rostered. You need to be planning your breaks around this child's needs. Wait till they're asleep. Wait until they're more settled. Then take your break. Just remember, this is only for a very short, intense amount of time. And if you get everything right now, and if you work really positively with this child, everything's going to be tickety-boo again really soon. So for your team members, please ask the key teacher, how can you help and what they need. Don't just assume that it would help if you carried this child for a while. Ask the key teacher. Don't just swoop in and pick the child up. And for team members, this one's going to sound a little bit strange, but try not to walk past this child and teacher too much if you can, because there's actually nothing more distressing than an unsettled child seeing all these adult legs constantly moving all around them, walking past them on a busy mission. It's like being in a busy train station and looking around you at all the bodies moving and wondering when it's time to step on the platform. Key teachers, this means that you should try to spend some time with this child in a quiet space that is not near the main walking spaces. Find a suitable corner where you can position yourself with the child and bring suitable playthings for them. Or you know what, even better, take them outside as much as you can. Being outside, we all know, is really soothing for everyone. Fresh air, clouds, a little wind in the face helps to bring equilibrium to the soul. Number 3, watch, listen, ask, and learn about this child. This is a wee human being that we're talking about here. And they have very clear ways of communicating once you get to know them. So pay attention. If they're not yet verbal or speak a different language from you, then watch their body language and their non-verbal cues. Learn what triggers them. Learn what soothes them. Learn their tired signs, their hunger signs, and all the cues that they'd communicate so clearly to you if you pay attention. Learn how this child likes to go to sleep. Do they like to be tightly wrapped? Do they like to lay on their side? Do they have a dummy and a cuddly? Do they like you to turn around in a circle 3 times before you put them to bed? You know the routine. It's really important that you understand how this child prefers to be put to bed. Understanding how a child prefers to go to sleep is a really important part of showing them loving care. It's also really important to understand how this child really likes to be comforted. I think it's really important that we don't just assume that children want to be picked up and hugged. Observe what comforts them and do that. Number 4, be the calm in the storm. Key teacher, your mood, your energy, your responses, your body language and movements, they all make an enormous difference with an unsettled child. If your heart is racing and you're constantly up and down off the floor, if you move quickly through the room, if you're using a loud voice, all of these things will impact on the child. So you need to be the calm in the storm. Breathe, walk slowly. Move slowly, talk quietly, sing, hum quietly. If the child wants to be held, hold them. Use gentle movements, open hands, calm, warm, loving hands. Hold them close to your heart and let them feel the calmness of your body, because your calmness will help the child to self-regulate. When you take them to bed or you hold them for a bottle, make eye contact, gaze into their eyes lovingly, smile, nod, connect. Number 5 is a particular bugbear of mine. Please acknowledge children's feelings. Don't shush. This child needs empathy and reassurance. I'm here for you. They need you to be their anchor in a stormy sea. Their feelings are very real and they need to be acknowledged no matter how young or how old they are. Resist the urge to shush or tell the child that they're okay. If this child is unsettled and they're crying a lot, they are very clearly not okay. So don't invalidate their feelings by saying, you're okay, you're okay. Even though we may have the best intentions and just want the child to be okay, it's not helpful to them. It's like if you had your heart broken and you were feeling really seriously upset about that, and I said to you, oh, you're okay. No, actually, you're not okay. So let's not pretend or sweep it under the carpet like it doesn't matter. Children's feelings are very real and just as important as ours. Number 6 is all about holding space for this child as much as you can. Be physically and emotionally available as much as you can. When this child crawls over to the gate for the 10th time today, Just sit alongside them and do what you're learning helps to make them process and self-regulate. It may be that you need to acknowledge how you think the child might be feeling. For example, I can see this is really hard for you today. Mummy will be back after your sleep, but I'm here to take care of you. I've got you. If the child puts her arms up to you and wants to be held, then hold them. You cannot spoil this child with too much love. There is no such thing. You are building trust. You are letting this child know that you are responsive to what they need. This time will pass and this will be less intense, and you are not needing to hold this child as much or at all very soon. If this child is wanting others to pick them up, it's actually really preferable that only the key teacher does this for now. So if the child is standing at the gate howling and people can't get through, it's really important that you calmly and gently hold out your hands. Tell the child, I need to pick you up. I can't let you stand here at the gate right now. I'm going to take you somewhere safer. And do exactly that. Do things like sit on the couch together or sit in a cozy armchair with the child and watch the room or read or sing together. Because you know what, sometimes being above the other children or at a slightly higher viewing level allows the child to observe and become familiar with all the people and happenings in the space. And it can be from a really safe vantage point for them. It feels like a cozy, safe space where I can just sit back and watch what's going on and start to absorb how things work here. Now, this one might seem really obvious, but you'd be amazed at how often this is overlooked. Make sure this child has familiarity from home in your centre. They need their blanket, their dummy, their sheepy, or any personal items that they use at home. They should also be at the centre. It can also help to have an item that belongs to their mum or whoever their main people are. For example, like a t-shirt or something that is soft and smells like home. I've actually once seen a child that carried his mum's big undies. They were clean, but it was his comfort item. It reminded him of mum, it smelt like mum, it felt like mum. His mother wasn't quite as comfortable as him, but it worked for that child. The other thing you can do is also take a photo of mum and dad or any family members that you meet and print and laminate it so that the child can hold it and look at them. And then you can sit together and talk about the family looking at the photo. If the family speaks a different language to you, learn some of the simple phrases that are going to help you communicate with this child. So at the very least, you need to know how to say, are you hungry? Or it's lunchtime now, or it's time to go to sleep. I'm going to change your nappy. The real basic care things you need to learn how to say in that child's home language. There's nothing quite as comforting as hearing your own mother tongue. Make no sudden movements. But seriously, predictability creates trust. Try to create routines and habits that will become familiar for this child. When young children can anticipate the order of events here, they'll begin to feel more confident with familiarity. So of course it goes without saying that you're going to keep this child's care routines as close as possible to their home routines. For example, their feeding and their sleeping. But also make sure that you tell the child what's going to happen next, even babies. Giving children plenty of warning that something different is about to happen or before you're going to start a transition time. For example, very soon we're going to tidy up and get ready for lunch. It gives them pre-warning that something's going to change and that you're going to be moving away or moving with them. And please, whatever you do, never ever leave the room without letting this child know that you are going and that you will be back. You're going to have to leave the room at some times, but try to keep it to a minimum. And make sure that a secondary caregiver, and ideally the same person every time, takes over being this child's anchor until you return. Ditto on this one for parents. Make sure that you tell parents that no matter how hard it is, no matter how much their child cries, they must say goodbye to their child before leaving, and then they must exit swiftly. Anything other than that just breeds distrust and makes things worse for the child and for everyone in the long term. I know that parents can often feel tempted to just sneak out, but believe me, it is the absolute worst thing that they could possibly do for this child. As I've mentioned previously, predictability and routines make a huge difference for children who are building trust. So talk with the child's parents about establishing a routine for drop-off times. Encourage them to do the same things in the same order every time, especially during the settling phase. So for example, the parent might walk into the centre each day with their child, holding their child in the bag, and then they take the bag and put it away. They might greet you as the key teacher and say hi, and then they may spend a bit of time with the child playing, but only if that doesn't distress the child. And then When they're ready to go, it's super, super important that they bring the child to you, or at the very least, let you know that they're going to go so that you are available to support the child. And then they need to say goodbye to the child, give them a hug, give them a kiss, and leave. Lingering makes things way worse for everybody. So it's actually really important as a key teacher that you coach parents in this, because this could be very well be the very first time that they've ever done this. They actually don't know. They're looking to you as a professional for your guidance and expertise. So give them that. And actually, for some children, they feel more confident and comfortable if they enter the centre in their own pushchair. It's like a little capsule that is a safe space for them, and they feel really confident and comfortable in there. So if that works for them, then encourage parents to bring their child in the pushchair, and don't take them out until they're ready. You can go up to the child and invite them. Are you ready to get out of your pushchair now? And they'll let you know when they're ready to get out. The beauty of a pushchair is, again, it elevates children above other children. It's a safe space. They can see what's going on around them, and other children can't quite get at them as much. So it feels really safe to them. So this last one's actually a really important piece of the puzzle. This little child's emotional tank is going to need filling more frequently and more fully than others right now. Care moments such as nappy changes, bottle feeds, sleep times are really pivotal to this. Magda Gerber taught us that if we give children our undivided attention during care moments, we are filling up a child's emotional tank and enabling them to feel fueled for independent learning and play outside of this, which is what we really want ultimately, and for this child to feel confident. So eyeball this child during care moments. Take your time, talk with them through what you are doing, tell them what is happening, and invite them to participate in care routines. Can you lift your bottom for me right now? And that's it. Simple? Not really. Critical? Yes. Doable? 100%. With a supportive team and a genuine care for this child's immediate and long-term well-being, you can do this. You've got this. If you do all of these strategies that I have shared with you today, I can assure you this child will settle and blossom into the wonderful, confident, curious to learn child that they were born to be. The other part of this equation that I actually haven't even touched on yet is all the things that you should be doing for this child and their family before you even found yourself in this unsettled part. For example, creating really robust settling processes prior to the child even starting with you. But that's a whole other video for another day. So for now, go forth, take amazing care of those beautiful children, because remember, they deserve nothing less. Kia kaha whānau.